Hey, I'm Kenneth Wajda. I'm a professional photographer here in Colorado. Welcome to another one of my weekly photo chats. So today I'm going to talk about a series that I've been shooting using the technique I talked about last week out my car window. And it's a series of bus stops. Because I started photographing people waiting at bus stops and I realized based on the kinds of advertising that you see lining the bus stop, that can tell you a lot about where the bus stop is located. If you combine the people that are at the bus stop with the advertisements, it really tells a story. Sometimes I'll leave in some of the details of the background. Sometimes bus stops are in areas where it's very industrial. Sometimes I find bus stops that are in residential areas. There are homes right behind the bus stop, which I find an interesting juxtaposition. And the people, they matter. And who is in that bus stop, what's being advertised, and what they look like, I find those kinds of series are interesting. Sometimes I think for photo series, we just need to come up with an idea that says, I know where to go. There was an old movie with Michael Moore made, and he said, we as news people photograph and cover crime that we can park the truck at. We can't cover white collar crime because there's nowhere to park the truck. But things that are happening that are in full view, we can go to it. Well, bus stops are like that for a series for me. I'm able to go, and wherever I go, it could be in small towns, it could be in cities, it becomes a awareness that I'm now looking for. Are there any, if I'm sitting at a red light, is there a bus stop right in front of me that there are people waiting at? Can I have the camera ready, and as I pass, fire off 4 frames and one of them will be centered? And who are the people? And what is the neighborhood? And all of that is, for me, interesting. I think this might be an interesting series that I'll put into a gallery show. I have an exhibit coming up in Boulder, and it's an open exhibit for just my work, and I can really bring anything, and that might be the exhibit that goes in. But the idea of creating a body of work, or a need to create a photograph that is specific, so that now when you see one, you can say, hey, I added one to that series. I think there's a photographer who just happened to go through his work, and he saw that if he saw a person with a balloon and the balloon was in a position where it was covering a head completely, he has a whole series on balloon heads. And it's just this random thing where he photographs somebody with a balloon, and next thing you know, he saw a few more. Now if he sees a balloon, he probably makes some photos and sees if one lines up that can be part of that series. Once you have an idea and once you have a structured goal, then you can go forward and say, okay, now I know what to shoot. And I can have my eyes open for it. I'm watching for it. So are you working on any series? And if not, you might think about how you could, and what would be of interest to you that you would say, I'm just going to shoot all the barns in my town, or I'm going to shoot all the churches, or I'm going to shoot all the empty fields and wildflowers. And it would be almost anything that you come up with becomes a focus, because now you have the ability to say, hey, here's what I saw, and here's how I saw it. And when I saw it, here's how I photographed it. As the Gary Winogrand line says, everything is photographable. So what do you choose to put in the frame, and what do you choose to put on a wall and make up a series? And that's something for both of us to come up with and decide and find something that would be interesting. I would love to see people, I want to do this myself, I would love to dedicate a wall in my house to just an exhibit. Once I can have friends back over after this pandemic, I would love to be able to have one spot in my house where it's like, oh, what's the show this month? Or what's the show right now? Because it might be more than a month. And just to see what kind of a space we could dedicate to finding a series and putting pictures up. All right, that's today's photography talk. If you're enjoying these, hit the subscribe button. I welcome your comments. As always, I love your comments. And if you can support, even the price of a cup of coffee a week is a big help. Hit the Patreon, and I'll be back next week. We'll talk photography. As always, here's the good light.